Most people come to YouTube to react, review, or even play games. Me, came here to tell a tragic love story I've been carrying in my head for years and to build an entire world around it. This video right here, simple. I want to open up about who I am, why I'm telling this story, and what I hope Yokomi Entertainment Studios will become. Now, this isn't going to be some ultra structured, deep in depth type video. I have talking points that I will want to go over and not editing. I'm not cutting mistakes or anything like that. This is just going to be me looking at my bullet points and just talking. So, like anybody here, well, I hope I ain't just the only one, but I was introduced into anime long before I even knew what anime was. I was into Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, all the shows that would come on Cartoon Network back in the day, before internet grew as big as it is, before you can just click and find anything. So I had no clue what anime was. I did know that I liked, like I said, Dragon Ball Z, watched Sailor Moon, and I'm pretty sure there was some other shows back then that was anime-like or anime-esque. But at least as a child, I figured they were just all cartoons. Fast forward, I joined the military, Marine Corps, rah. But my first duty station was over in Japan. And that is when I really got exposed to this world of, I guess you could just call it extreme storytelling, I guess you want to say, with just a media that I had no clue really existed or it was even really as big as it was. And when I say I fell in hard. I jumped into the deep end and I watched as much as I could. I was introduced to, I think the first one that really got me planted in, which is probably like everybody else, was Naruto. Had one of my buddies, he had recorded some episodes of Naruto back when, when LimeWire and all of them was good or popping off. And, not going to say stealing content, but doing whatever we had to do to make sure we could watch whatever we wanted to watch. And from there, it was just a slippery slope. I tried getting into everything. Like I said, it started with Naruto, and then I know I got into Bleach. Never did One Piece. Sorry, not sorry. One Piece just looks too retarded from a character design standpoint. Just watching all your normal battle shonen type animes. I caught up on Yu Yu Hakusho, another show called Tenchi Muyo, which I swear nobody's ever. But it's got 20, 30 freaking seasons out, but everybody act like they ain't never heard of it. I'm like, bruh, how you been this deep in anime, but you ain't never heard of this show? But either way, let me stay on top. But either way, I watched all the battle shonen type shows. Very big, very popular, very easy to get. But eventually ran out of those. And they started to become, excuse me as I take a hit from my vape, very samey in a way. It's sort of like the same old formula, and I'm not knocking them because it's an easy way to get inside anime, but just got tired of the, I guess, sort of like the hero's journey type storytelling. Weak guy gets some sort of either cool power or power that wasn't seen in a million years, and slowly getting stronger and stronger, blah blah blah. So I was like, let me see what else is out there. And around that time, young man got into let's just say not kid friendly anime, the ones that has a lot of plot inside of it. And that was another slippery slope. You pull up the top 100, I forget the term. It's not hentai, but again, it had a lot of plot. But watched them all. Like I said, Young, dumb, fully you know what. So either way, kept it moving. After I got tired of watching them, I decided to branch off and look at what people were watching. Now, there was no Twitter or anything like that. I think MySpace was just kicking off. But I wanted to see what other people were watching because, I got, like I said, I was in the deep end. I wanted more. I wanted more. So I eventually got into a different category, Seinen. And back then, more so than now, there was a clear divide into the different types of uh, anime that was portrayed in the different categories. Shonen had its audience. What was it? Shoujo had theirs. Seinen had its audience. So I decided to delve into there. And when I tell you, I was absolutely shocked by what I eventually fell in love with till this day, which was good storytelling. I realized that I didn't really care for the the big action, big booms, flashy scenes, flashy fight scenes. Yeah, they were all cool and whatnot, but like I said, the story, at least at my time of uh at least in my era of anime that came out, everything was just divided up and they stuck to, like I said, their audience. So when I eventually moved into the seinen category, it was less action and flashy scenes and more of a focus to good storytelling, character development, character dynamics, and things like that. And to me, that opened up a world that I didn't know existed until that point. Now, you're going to have to excuse me for my bad memory. So I wouldn't be able to tell you what show or movie that opened my eyes back then because you got to think this was 20 years ago. And I done devoured so much content since then that, it's all just a blur. And again, you're going to have to excuse my horrible memory. But I do know that when I did make that leap, I knew there was no way I could come back to shonen styled anime, at least at that point. But the emotional hit that I received, especially once I finished the show or movie, stayed with me a lot longer than some cool, flashy fight scene. And I knew that that's what I wanted to pursue. And so, I decided to consume as much as I could inside uh, that type of story or that type of show with the storytelling. And I watched whatever I could get my hands on at the time. Like I said, anime back then was not as easily accessible as it was here or as it was now. Uh, and like I said, the only reason why I was able to experience it is because I was over there in Japan. So either way, I'm trying not to ramble, but I'm also not trying to just stick to my little talking points. If you do follow me, you're going to learn that when I do these little talking videos, I like to talk and I like to ramble. And kind of nervous, but I'm trying. But either way, let's move on. So I realized that there were, the internet, like I said, internet was getting better. And there were these sites that you could go on. I'm pretty sure you know all the sites. I'm not going to name them because I don't want them things taken down. I'm sorry if they don't want people to go to these certain sites. These big companies need to stop being so money hungry and allow us to have full access to what's over there. But that's a whole nother topic. I ain't trying to get in. So anyway, so I went. So I had my site, and I gobbled up everything I could on there. After my young years with the anime that has a lot of plot. So I went into vampires. I went into demons. I had an era of magical. I had an era of fantasy, science. I tried to get a little piece of every type of genre that was out there. And, I don't know about everybody else, but I go long stints to where there's a certain genre that I'm just into. And that's all I want to watch. So if I'm in a mood where I want to watch a psycho killer type anime, that's all I'm watching. If I want to look up, or not look up, but if I want to watch something with magic in it, I'll go a long stint of watching nothing but magic type shows. And that's what I usually stick to. Now, as I grew older, I've learned what I like, and I tell people this all the time who wants to get into anime. I'm not gonna just recommend if somebody asks me, "Hey, I would like to get into anime. What can I watch?" Now, I would usually, or I used to, just be like, give recommendations based on personally what I like, and it took me a long time to realize that what I like ain't necessarily what somebody else likes. So I would generally just ask them uh, what type of shows or movies that they like to watch and enjoy. And then I usually recommend them something along those genre types. But with that being said, as far as my personal favorite genres and things, I guess you could say, right now, at least for this moment, and probably for the last 10 years, I ain't gonna say 10 years, let's be a little bit realistic, probably about 9 years, I've been in nothing but tragic romance. Now, I like romance as a genre, as a whole, but not like the sole focus of an anime. It's got to be a strong contender. It's got to be like top three as far as what I'm looking for in a show or movie that I'm going to start, but it's not like the number one contender. But tragic romance in itself, isolated, oh yeah, that could be number one. That's what I'm looking for. That's the first thing I'm trying to find. I don't know. It's just something about, and of course it's got to be written good, but it's just something about being able to tell a story, a romance story, because I'm a big romantic guy, but tell a romance story that's not all fluff. It's not all talking. It's not everything going right. That's just not how real life is. And I know people get into anime to escape real life, but when you don't have a show that just solely focuses on big flashy fight scenes, big powers, fantasy elements, magical elements, supernatural beings and stuff. At the end of the day, the only thing they can rely on is the story. Is it good enough to keep somebody's attention? And when you bring romance into it, at least in the specific tragic romance type genre, you get a realistic interaction between characters, especially as you get older. Some of these interactions and scenarios you might have been in yourself, or known somebody who's been in these situations, and it hits closer to home because you've been there. You know what that character's feeling. And I think that is much more of a way to relate to the characters in the show that you're watching than giving some bland idiot like shonen protagonist that literally makes no realistic decisions for the most part. And people be like, well, they're this way because they want you to impose yourself on the main character of such and such X show. And that's just not it. So it doesn't hit home. It just feels alien to me. It just has me asking questions on more of why are they doing this, because if I was in that situation, that wouldn't have happened, or I wouldn't have made that decision. But when it comes to stories where it's only about the storytelling and it's more realistic and grounded, like your slice of life animes, then it's much more relatable, especially if you lived life. Some sort of scenario you could have found yourself in or experienced it yourself. And you don't necessarily have to have a slice of life show in order to experience the romantic dynamics between characters. You can literally place that in any type of show, whether it be magical fantasy, horror, and things like that. That's what I like about it. You can find it anywhere. And I just so happen to like tragic romances. I like it where the characters either don't get together at the end. I like it when one of them dies. I like it when there's a boatload of drama in there. I just, it's not that I don't want to see characters happy at the end, but just to me, the emotional roller coaster from a tragic romance hits harder and stays longer than any other type of genre to a show I've previously watched. But, and that's sort of how my preferences grown and stabilized, because I prefer good storytelling over action. And to me, maybe not you, but to me, a tragic romance, when done right, is the best storytelling you can really give when it comes to a character-driven story. Excuse me, gotta take another hit of me vape. And if you want to know what it is the blueberry watermelon. Don't get this flavor. It's not all that great. Now, this is gonna be, let me see, how can I navigate this topic without pissing anybody off? Where I see anime going today. All right, well, let's get into it. All right. Sorry, not sorry. But I, as a fan, love that anime as a whole is a lot more accessible to the Western audience and just audience as a whole. Now, without delving into anything to do with business, politics, money, and all that, I'm going to do my best to focus in on where I see anime today, which is going to be a very contentious topic, but it's a big motivator into why I'm doing what I'm doing now. As I previously stated, I am glad anime is much more accessible, but I feel like what is the reason why it's becoming popular is not the reason why I got into anime. And all this stems from my personal perspective, my experiences, what I'm exposed to. But in my opinion, anime has went from something very niche to big companies seeing potential growth in it, grabbing it up and twisting it into some sort of business model. It's like they took what works, cranked it up to 11, and then put money behind it to shotgun as many shows as they possibly can, hoping to get a little piece of that money pie, just to get bigger and throw out more stuff. And me personally, I feel like the quality of anime has just dropped tremendously. Now, I don't mean that in a sense of, the technology has gotten better, sound effects have gotten better, animation, all that. Yeah, sure. But you're going to get that with the development and advancement in technologies. What I feel that has went downhill is, again, going back to that storytelling aspect. It's like that is the last thing people think of when they're creating these animes. Is like all they want to do is get out as many things as they can and get as big as of an audience as they can. And the quality of what they put out is just hot garbage. I got to say it. It's hot garbage. Me, I don't see how Demon Slayer garnered so much attention. Yeah, the fight scenes look cool, but I'm sorry, that's all Demon Slayer has. It's just another copy and paste anime that already came out. All you did was change the character designs, the names, and whatever cool power the main character has to grow in. Yeah, people say, well, it's the hero's journey, whatever, whatever, whatever. Yeah, but you can take the hero's journey and make it good storytelling, good writing, good plot, not not just a whole bunch of, well, everything in between is going to be mediocre, but man, wait till that fight scene come up. It's going to be amazing. And I've noticed, and granted, it is a shonen, but I've noticed that all these big shows that come out, that seems to be the only, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I ain't going to try to use some big fancy word. It's the only thing they focus on. And then you got your solo levelings. Me personally, don't know how solo leveling got so big. I mean, maybe the first two episodes it showed real promise and I was excited about it. But then they just threw everything out the window and made some character unbelievably strong. Not even the same character no more. You look at that character from the first episode or two, and then you look at him at like episode 6. Not even the same character. Don't even tell me that. That's a grown ass man right there that you watching versus the little kid before. I don't know how that sister or that he has when he walks in ain't like, hey stranger, who the fuck are you? But I digress. I understand that it's a whatever it's called, power trip anime, whatever you want to call it. I just call it garbage. Granted, I could see that it might grab some people's attention. I ain't gonna say some people because a lot of people watched it. But for anybody to say, "Oh my God, that is the anime of the year," oh boy, this is gonna be hard. Keeping this shit neutral. But for anybody to say that that's anime of the year, I'm gonna have to say you need to watch more anime. I'm trying to keep this as civil as possible. But boy, oh boy, is my what do people call it? My elitism coming through. Oh man, that's a whole other story. But either way, let's get back at it. So what I'm not seeing enough in anime, at least for now, is the storytelling aspect of it, the character dynamics of it, the character growth and development. I'm just not seeing a lot of that. It just seems to be put on the back burner for how can we make this cool. And I know I'm sort of picking on shonen because that seems to be, at least in the West, what garners the most attention, while you have other shows that people don't even want to give a chance because it doesn't fit that narrative of cool explosions and stuff. It's not like I'm just picking on shonen, but they are low-hanging fruit that I can just grab and talk about. So, and I feel I feel like, though I'm glad anime is in a lot more households than they used to be, I feel like now, while it's growing, while I'm just gonna say it's in its infancy, at least in the Western world, I feel like now would be the time to try to take all that I've learned over my many years of watching anime. I couldn't tell you how many I've watched, probably in the thousands, or not thousands, but probably in the thousand. Um, we're going to have to knock out about a good 300 of them for the ones that I was just watching for the plot. But other than that, I have seen a lot. I wish I would have done that, my anime list where I could list them all off because I end up watching things that I've already seen before, and I'm already too deep into it where I'm just like, whatever, I'll just rewatch it again. Man, this memory sucks. But I felt like now was the time where, as a fan, whether it garners the same attention as something like Naruto or Bleach or your Demon Slayers and whatnot, I felt like now was the time where I could make something that had those aspects of what made those shows good, but instead of putting the storytelling on the back burner, I could bring that to the forefront of what I could put out. And that's ultimately what made me want to write a story or try to write a story of what I think a good anime is. Or not anime, manga, light novel, whatever you want to call it. I just like calling it anime because I'm more of an anime watcher. And unless something really, really hits me, I'm not going out reading the light novels and whatnot. I'm just trying to keep it simple by calling it anime. So, over my years, I like to daydream. I like to think about what would I do if I was in that situation. Oh, I like this aspect of a show. Man, it'd be cool if they could combine this and that together. Either way, I added up everything I liked and took away everything I disliked in anime, as far as my perspective. And just over the years, I've been wanting to build a story, my own story. And since I'm in my tragic romance years, and that's like my number one thing, I decided to write a tragic romance story. It's been in my head for many years, changing things here, changing things there. If I watch something and it's cool, I'd be like, oh man, I would like to take that and maybe put my own unique spin on it. Just an amalgamation of a lot of things over time. But I don't know, something just clicked one day and I decided, hey, I want to take this time and try to write something that I hope people can fall in love with. So as you know, I knew it was going to be a tragic romance one at first. That was the first thing. I knew I did want character deaths to be another thing. Not the kind from Dragon Ball Z. There's no tension when a character dies in Dragon Ball Z because you just bring them back with the Dragon Balls. I mean, what's the point of even having the character die if you're just gonna bring them back? I don't see no consequences. Yeah, maybe it was cool when you could only bring a character back once, and then there was real stakes at hand after that. But the moment it seemed like that dragon done took steroids and it's a whole nother dragon, and then they evolved them or evolved the dragon, and no consequences. So I do know that when my character deaths happen, they happen. Ain't no bringing them back. I knew I wanted to kill off a good character, or not a good character, but a mainstay character. I wanted something to happen that would have a chain reaction of events in the story when certain characters die. I knew I wanted one where I could have a romance going on at the same time as the story is going on. Not a plot-driven story, but a character-focused story that how can I put this? The character development and the character interactions pushes the plot forward, but the plot is happening as its own character in the background. So I wanted to make a story where, like I said, you can have your actions, you can have your flashy scenes, you can have your power systems and stuff like that. But I wanted it to be a true character driven story. But that's how I came to the idea of let me finally take what's in my head and jot it down on paper. And this happened years ago. I'm a procrastinator. I ain't gonna hide it. It took me a long time to finally actually start writing something that was more than just an idea or a plot line that I wanted to, build upon. It took real time, real effort, and real determination to actually get this out. And before I move on any further, I do want to say that my appreciation and admiration for storytellers and writers and stuff like that has gone through the roof. I never knew it was this hard to do it. Man, y'all definitely deserve whatever money, fame, and whatnot, and more that y'all get. Especially if you're a single writer and don't have like some big old team to write for you, and you just doing the story yourself. Man, y'all built different. But either way, let's move on. The issues I'm having personally. I work a lot. Not going to tell you what I do, why I do it, whatever. But I do work a lot. Usually 12 and a half hours a day. We used to be 7 days a week, but now it seems like we just do it 6 days a week. Either way, I be tired. So I be trying to write when I can, but it's a long process. I'm one of them, what they say, that you're your own worst critique. And there's no telling how many times I rewrote chapter 1, rewrote chapter 2, rewrote chapter 3 to read it to my wife about 1,000,000 times over. And I'm recovering from that addiction right now. So, I finally said enough was enough. It's just going to have to stay like this until, I get to the point where if I am able to redo it, I will. But right now, I need to focus more on getting this story written out. Which, if you want to know, I have about 30. I'm looking for the first book to be roughly around 100 chapters. 110 chapters. I'm about 30 chapters in. I got 11 of them fully finalized, final rendition. I'm not changing anything else. I got the other ones written up, but they need to be revised before I put them out, along with doing like the quote unquote performance read on here. I didn't realize how long they were and how much effort that went into. So I'm just trying to do a lot by myself. So things might come slow. That's why I was kind of hesitant to even put the story up online, because until I get to the point where I am able to, just write full time, having to divide my time up between work and writing, had to learn Logic Pro, had to learn Final Cut, trying to learn Unreal Engine 5 so I can bring out the story from an audio only perspective to audio and visual, trying to get my character designs more dialed in. I'll go and let you know I got no creativeness when it comes to character designs. So that's hard in itself. So right now I'm a one-man team. So yeah, things will be slower until I can get to that point. So I'm looking to release things slowly. So I'm glad that I did get the first 11 chapters revised. Hold on while I take another hit of my vape. I'm glad I did get the first 11 of my chapters fully revised because now I can record them, put them on YouTube, let people listen to them in the background. Not something that you got to watch a video for. You can just let it play and whatnot. But I didn't realize how long my chapters were. Man, I did that chapter 2 video and only did like I think half of it or something. I think it was 20 minutes long. I said, oh no, and it took forever to edit out. Man, trying to learn logic and how to make your voice sound different and clearer, and learning about noise gates and trying to figure out how to make different character sound, or not sounds, but voices and stuff like that. Man, well, I'm about to do no 20-minute video again. So I've been trying to break up my chapters into more digestible, easier to do chapters. That way I'm able to keep a constant schedule. I like to keep them around 5 to no more than like 8-9 minutes, but it's whatever. If I had to be realistic, it's going to be whatever I put out, whatever's easiest for me to do in a timely manner. But either way, again, let's move on. So, the point of this video was to talk about why I made Kana's Confessions, which, if you don't know, that's the title of the anime, the novel, light novel, whatever you want to call it. What my vision is for it is to be something that can grab an audience and pull on those emotional strings as much as some of my most favorite anime movies, and do it like they did it for me. I want to show the world that anime isn't just niche. I want to show that there are thousands of types of stories you can tell for as many people in the world as you can. There's a story for everybody out there. Whether you are hardcore shonen watcher, whether you only like, good God, it's hard to think. Whether you like murder mysteries, whether you like psychological, whether you like vampires and magical or fantasy element animes, whether you like character-driven, plot-driven, whether you like slice of life or even your shows with a plot. But I want that to grow and become even bigger. It's a medium that I feel that can be explored much more than what it is. And I want to tell my own story. It's not for everybody. It may not be for you. It may not be for the person just now getting into it. But it's my story. And even if there's only one person out there that thinks that it was the best thing ever and that they enjoyed it and it made them view anime completely different, I mean, then I accomplished something. Now, granted, do I want this to get big? Hell yeah. I want this thing to be the biggest thing since sliced bread. But I understand it's going to take some time. But that was the whole reason why I wanted to create Kana's Confessions. And, a little bit of ego in there and that elitism of, let me show you what a real story is. But again, it may not be for you. And that's the thing about anime. One person's treasure is another person's, man, that shit was hot ass. But now, let's delve into why I felt the need to burn through money and create a quote-unquote business for Yokomi Entertainment Studios. Now, I could have just got on here on YouTube, told my story, let it be that. But as a man of ambition and a man who wants to see the industry and media grow as a whole, and most importantly, as a man who is a fan of this type of media, I felt like if I was going to do this, I wanted to do it all the way. I do have a dream. I have a three-step process of what I want to accomplish in life. If I had to be truthfully honest, if I could get this story, my YouTube, and all that to be financially independent and grow, this at the end of the day is just to be able to financially fund step 2, which I'll probably get into. Like I said, I like to ramble, so I'll probably get into that a little later, if not a whole nother video. I plan on making a lot of these videos where I just sit and talk about future plans, but if I decide to do it, I want to do it right from the get-go. So I wanted to own everything I created. I wanted to, maybe vain or not, but I want it to look professional. I wanted an image, a brand. I wanted people to recognize if they saw this color palette, I'm the first one they think of. I wanted to show. I want it to be another. Who's those studios? I ain't really in the studios like that, but like Ghibli and the one who done the Fate series. I can't remember them, but I wanted somebody to be like, oh yeah, if that Yokomi stamp's on there, oh yeah, it must be good. So I was thinking about the future when I did all this. I didn't want to have to backtrack. I didn't want to have to recreate or anything like that. So that's the reason why I wanted an actual brand identity for my book, YouTube channel, anything I put out, anything I create, anything I might try to do a joint venture with. I wanted that brand identity. Not necessarily to say, oh, yeah, I got a business or anything like that, or for bragging rights, but I want people to be able to easily identify what they're getting into, not only with me, but the quality of what they're getting. What I want their expectations to be set high and be delivered upon when they look at me. So at the end of the day, I needed a brand identity. As far as the future, do I really want to get into the future vision of what I got planned? I talked to my coworkers about it, and for some reason they keep saying that it sounds kind of evil, but it's not. Promise you, it's not about world domination or anything like that. But as I briefly mentioned earlier, I do have a 3-step process of where I would like to see the business. As I said, step 1, yes, it is to tell my story, hopefully the best story ever told. But at the end of the day, it's just to financially fund step 2, which I may or may not tell y'all in a later video. Who knows? It's exciting for me, but that ain't what y'all came here for. But if it is, trust me, it's big. But until that time comes, there's really no reason to talk about it. Let's see, to keep this somewhat shorter. And I do apologize if it seems like I'm all over the place. Yeah, I got bullet points and whatnot, but I'm not used to talking to a computer, at least with this microphone that's stuffed in my face. I like to actually talk with other people. I love conversations and debates about what's the best, what's the worst, who did this. Oh my God. But as far as talking to a mic and a computer, and without my motivation running through me, it's kind of jarring to talk. So I do apologize. Promise I'll get better and more comfortable with talking, but that's what you get right now. Let's see. As far as my future scheduling, what I'm trying to do is I'd love to come out with a video every week, but as much as I work, that's unrealistic. But, and I'm not going to say unrealistic, let me not lie. Think of that procrastination again. But what's comfortable for me, because I don't want to promise something and not deliver. That's not who I am, but I also don't want to say, oh, well, it's up in the air, what's going to happen. So what I'm going to try to do, hold on, let me get another hit of this vape. So what I'm going to try to do is I want to release a video every Sunday for 3 Sundays in a row and take a week off, whether that be to catch up on something, whether that be to get a bit of learning in on, like I said, I'm trying to learn Unreal Engine 5 and better navigate and understand what I can and can't do for like Final Cut and things like that. So I need some sort of time. And I may just want to take a break. But so I'm going to try to knock out 3 videos every Sunday. And Sunday, because like I said, we moved from 7 days a week working to 6 days a week working. So that seems to be the only day I got off. So it's the only time I can really do something. But that's the goal for now. Like I said, when I'm able to, if it ever gets to that point, I'd love to do a video schedule where I am throwing out at no more than 3 videos a week. We got to get a little bit real now. I ain't going to be one of the ones knocking out a video every day. I don't know how y'all do that either. But I would like to get on a schedule to where I can release multiple videos a week at the same time. That way I know when to get it. But right now, I'm just trying to do what I can. There's a ton of other things I want to talk about, but as a first video, I feel like I've rambled enough. Well, I take that back. I ain't rambled enough. Let me go ahead and drop in a few more talking points that I wanted to go over. This video was supposed to be about everything this channel is supposed to be about, but I can't seem to stay on topic. But we'll just have to do multiple videos. I'm sorry. But before we move on to this next topic, let me go ahead and get another hit of this vape. What I'm looking for is audience engagement, not in the sense to please the, what do I hear people call it? The almighty YouTube algorithm. I care less about that. Yeah, it's a fundamental foundation to growing your channel and everything like that, but I feel that before any type of content is put out, all I hear is, oh, let's like, subscribe, comment down below some superficial question I asked to get audience engagement and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm not looking for all that. If you do feel like you want to comment, comment. If you do feel like you want to like, share, and all that, and do it on your own accord. I'm not about to be somebody else that's just sitting here beating y'all to death 3, 4, 5 times, showing y'all some subscriber to not subscriber metric posting up on the screen. Like, I could really care less about that. But people gonna do what they want to do. If you're bringing out a product, you shouldn't have to say, oh, like, subscribe and whatnot. They'll do it on their own. But what I would like to ask for, if you did watch, or if you are listening to the audiobook, or not audiobook, why do I keep calling it audio? It's not going to be no audiobook, but kind of, is if you absolutely hated it, download it. If you didn't like it, I wouldn't mind if you told me why. I'm looking to get better. And at the end of the day, I can't get better without feedback. And if it was good, yeah, it was good. You can write what you liked about it. You can write what you loved. You can write what specifically was like, oh my God, that was cool. But I'm also here for criticism as well, because in order to improve my writing, my storytelling, and things like that, I'm not some, oh my God, I can write perfect the first time type of person, but I'm all for critiquing. Yeah, if you tell me, oh man, this shit, don't watch it. Yeah, I probably will delete that comment. I mean, I'm all for negative criticism, but give me something. Tell me, oh yeah, this shit was hot ass because I didn't like this. That's a little bit more constructive. That'll stay. I'm not going to delete that type of comment because it might help somebody who's also writing or something like that. But anything that can help me grow as a writer, I'm willing to keep. But, oh damn, it is 10:40 at nighttime. I have to go ahead and end this video because I'm going to have to get out all the gaps that's in this video. There's some long ones. Man, when I tell you I was nervous talking, I was nervous talking. It was already hard enough to get comfortable to try to act out these scenes. And also, about that, I originally wanted to try to do a where I just read the story, not trying to do no voice acting, no sound effects. But man, that was boring. I don't know if y'all have noticed, which I plan on redoing chapter 1. I'm going to keep the old video, but I do plan on redoing chapter 1. But man, when I tried to just read it straight, I was so bored because I done read and reread all my chapters at least 50 times. So it was hard to get in there, get into the mode of wanting to read it. So if you watch the first video, as you'll see that each subsequent video afterwards, either adding, I'm always trying to make it better than the last video. So I'm moving to like adding sound effects. I'm trying to add in, I ain't gonna say music, but if Logic Pro or somewhere that I can get some unlicensed music, I'm trying to add that in there, doing the reverb, try to bring the scene to life, actually acting out the performance and everything. That's the only way I can see myself continuing to want to record those videos, because if I'm excited about it, then it's going to show in the way I read it. But just doing like a monotone type read, oh man, I was getting so bored. But if there are people, which hopefully there ain't a lot, that does just want like a separate playlist where it's just read straight through, I'm going to have to grit it out and do it. But just so y'all can set y'all's expectations, like I said, I'm trying to make every subsequent video better than the last one. So the more I enjoy it, the better, at least personally, I feel like the video is going to be. And I would love it to be able to have distinct voices for each character. That way you know who's talking. And I'm not saying he said, she said. And I can actually voice out the emotion that's when they're talking. That way it just brings you more into the story and the world. But I don't know how in 2025 we don't have some sort of software to change my voice into a female without having robotic-y sounds. Man, the amount of hours I have spent to try and get that done. 2025 and we ain't got that. I'll be so glad when I can actually afford to get a female voice actor that actually cares about the story, and that way they can actually give the emotion that I'm looking for. But it's time to end this video. I got to go ahead and edit this thing and try to get it out before midnight. The next 2 weeks. Right now I ended it I still got one more, the last part for chapter, I think it's 3, to record out, which when I looked at it, it's just a small part. So it's going to be a very short video, probably no more than 5 minutes long. And then I'll be able to start with chapter 4. This is going to be a long story. It's going to be a lot of me introducing things that will get explained. There's going to be future videos of me explaining finer points in the story. Since I'm so slow getting these videos out, I can't really talk about some of it because I don't want to ruin anything or, talk about something that ain't shown yet in the videos. But eventually, when we get to those points, I will have videos where if I'm talking about a specific weapon that somebody uses, or if I'm come to a point where somebody's using a specific weapon, I will have a video for that weapon. And I'll explain up to that point of the story of what it is. I'll have its design laid out and things like that. And once I get fully invested into Unreal 5 and be able to do what I want to do, I'm hoping that those videos add a little bit more value to the story, because you'll be able to find a video on maybe some abstract thing that's going on in the story and get a little bit more information. But either way, let me end this video here. At the end of the day, I didn't come here to be just another channel in the vast landscape of YouTube, and not even another channel just in the anime community. You never, I ain't gonna say never, but you're not gonna have me come out with videos where I'm doing some sort of deep dive in a character's psychological state and whatnot. There's YouTubers a dime a dozen who does that. If I do a video on a show or a movie, my video is going to be from the perspective of a fan. So, no, you won't get that complex, like I said, deep dive. But yeah, you'll definitely hear me come on there and be like, bruh, this shit was amazing. Or hot dookie. But I came here to tell a story that stays with you. Hopefully in a good light, and not like on one of those top 10 worst story lists that I see, especially from them websites that be, I swear you would think that they never even seen an anime before. Another topic. Let me close this video out. I hope and pray that y'all come see me next Sunday, where I finally finish the last part of chapter 3. And thank you. But let me get one more hit of this fate first before I go.